Today we're going to be talking about the effect of the no tolerance policy and overall Trump's immigration policies on the effect of in the 2018 midterm elections. So first of all, immigration is the number one issue in America right now when it comes to portrayal by the national news media. And when it came to the 2016 election, immigration was definitely one of the top up there when it came to how people voted and why they voted for each specific candidate. So when we're looking at the map, we're looking at the Senate map, we're looking at the governor map. We're not really looking at the House because the House affects the way people vote in the House is effective on the approval rating of the president. It's pretty much based off how America perceives the president. If he has a higher approval rating, he probably won't lose a lot of seats. And if he has a super low approval rating, he'll probably lose a number of seats. So we're not going to talk about the House because that's going a little too in depth about this, and we're going to have to talk about specific districts. But when we're talking about states that are number one on the border or toss-up states and how the Senate and governor elections will impact the president and his administration, we're going to talk about that and why this is so important to the 2018 midterms. So first of all, let's take a look at the approval rating of the president on the issue of immigration. So these numbers are taken by CNN, so take it how you want it. There are no other sources that have these type of numbers for this specific no tolerance policy, which is why I chose it. Clearly, I would have chose a different source because of the fact that this is a source that people either think are fake or just don't believe altogether. And these are the only numbers out there, so the only ones I have to take. And they show an approval rating of the president with around a 39% approval rating and a disapproval rating of around 55%. So it's around 3% less in the approval rating side against the national average. So looking at the national average, he has around a 42 to 43% approval rating, whereas in this poll he has a 39%, ticking up to 40% if you take in a number of other factors. But again, that's still not good for the president. And yes, these numbers could be fluctuated a little bit just based off how the approval rating of the president is shown. But again, these numbers are still a clear estimate of what the national approval of it is right now. So the approval rating of the president for Donald Trump in the month of May was a 40% approval rating on the issue of immigration and a 55% disapproval rating. As of June, from June 14th to June 17th, the time the poll was taken, his approval rating is 35%, down from 40%, and his disapproval rating went up from 55% to 59%. So clearly, he's losing people on this issue, and this was one of his top issues. I'm also talking really fast. I apologize for any stuttering right now. It's just everything's going by me extremely fast, and I have to get this video out pretty fast as well. But talking about these numbers, Trump is not doing well on the issue of immigration, and this was his top issue. This is the one he capitalized back on in 2016, other than the issue of the economy. And this is one that almost every Republican expected him to excel on because, again, border wall, when we're talking about the no tolerance policy, immigrant families that are illegal immigrant families, and pretty much his entire rhetoric throughout the 2016 campaign season and 2017 and early 2018 made it seem like he would be a good immigration type president when it came to illegal immigration. And now he's starting to lose his grip on a number of voters who before approved of him a little bit more about the issue of immigration. It was never in a clear majority, but he definitely was doing a lot better. At times it was 45% on the issue of immigration. Now it's 35%, and that's not good for the president. When we're talking about the no tolerance approval rating nationwide, 28% of the nation approves of the no tolerance policy and 67% disapproves of it, whereas 56% of Republicans approve of it, and yet 36% still disapprove of it. Amongst independents, let me see if I can pull up the number. Amongst independents, 30% approve and 65% disapprove of the no tolerance policy. So clearly it is not a popular issue. The president signing that new executive order definitely will help him, but it's not going to do enough. This has already separated 2,000 families, more than 2,000 families, and that's not good when it comes to how the president is being perceived. So enough talking about the poll numbers. We're going to get into the map. So first of all, again, 270 to win actually has a new color swatch thing where you can click on which one you want to fill in. So I can click on safe, and then I can click on safe for the Democrats. Then I can click on likely red or lean blue, depending on how it is. I don't have to click through each one every time like I used to. That's pretty interesting. But we're going to do this based off how the trends are for the country and how they are in each Senate race. So let me see. Let me go back and make Tennessee a toss-up state. But now we're going to go through the map just based off safe states and likely and leaning. So there are states that are never going to flip, as usual. When we're looking at the map, this is not going to help the president. Everything coming out is not beneficial to the president at all. And you can't really spin it in any way that would be. Maybe it helps him amongst Republicans, and it really doesn't, considering only 56% of his own party approves of it, and every other political party and every other type of voting group disapproves of it. That's not good for the president, especially with midterms coming around. This is going to be a top-notch issue. And then we're going to go through all the likely states for the Democrats. So pretty much the entire Rust Belt is considered likely, including Minnesota's special election down in Mississippi. Those are safe races for the Republicans. But now we're at a point where we're starting to see more Democratic seats become more Democratic. They have Democratic incumbents. They used to be leaning or toss-up, and now they're going to either be leaning or likely. West Virginia, that one would be leaning for the Democrats. Ohio would also be leaning. Virginia would you could call it safe, but I'm going to put it in the likely column. In Montana, new polling numbers actually came out, which show Greg Gianforte losing the House race there, which is pretty significant. I don't think that the whole immigration issue is going to affect places like the Rust Belt or around toss-up states like North Dakota or Montana or Missouri. However, the economy is still a number one issue in the Rust Belt, and Democrats are still doing good there. The GOP does not have the best candidates around the Rust Belt or the ones that are even running, and these are already rated as likely or safe by multiple political pundits. And I mean, my prediction concurs with that. When we're talking about states like Montana and North Dakota, any little thing will tip an election. These are completely and pure toss-up states, and I don't think it'll make such a drastic implication like it will in a state like Arizona, Nevada, New Mexico, or Texas, but I still think that this is going to be an issue that will affect the outcome of the election. When it comes to a state like North Dakota, that one is a pure toss-up. Anything could shift the balance away or to the Democrats or away and to the Republican Party. So if Trump makes a minor mistake on the day of the election, that could put that in the Democratic column. Or if Heidi Heitkamp makes a minor mistake, or Nancy Pelosi comes out and says something stupid, it could also put that one in Kevin Cramer's column, the Republican, the supposed Republican nominee. Everyone expects him to win. But looking at the map, these are states that anything can happen. I don't think it'll be a top-notch issue. I don't think it'll be number one when it comes to what North Dakotan voters voted about in the 2018 midterms, but it'll also be something that influences their vote and how it would eventually turn out for the president in the Senate when it comes to his bills and partisan voting and things like that. So right now, North Dakota is a toss-up, but Montana is leaning blue. The state of Nevada, this one is a flip. Nevada is leaning blue because of the fact that Dean Heller's not doing so well here. His approval rating's not doing so well. Jackie Rosen is doing pretty well. She did pretty well in the primary. Dean Heller, he did have a little bit there's supposed to be a huge primary resistance against him. We didn't really see that, but I don't think that he's going to do the same. I think he's going to do more damage to himself when leading up to the election. He's essentially the Nevada version of Jeff Flake. I'm just surprised that he didn't drop out after Jeff Flake did. But then when we go over to a state like Florida, another toss-up state, Tennessee, another toss-up state, Indiana I actually see as leaning blue right now, just for the meantime. Right now we're not hearing much out of the state of Indiana, but I could see it as a leaning blue state right now. I'm just going to speed this up. So right now I think Missouri is leaning red, Tennessee is leaning red, Texas is leaning red for right now, just based off what we're seeing, and this gives the Republicans the majority in the United States Senate. North Dakota polls show Kevin Cramer ahead right now, but down in Florida, the Democrat is ahead according to opinion polls, and I think this immigration issue is going to be important for Florida considering the number of Hispanic voters that come out and vote. And the state of Arizona right now, I would consider that one leaning blue, especially since the firm opposition against the president, in the 2016 election, low approval ratings, high Hispanic turnout, everything against the Republicans in the state of Arizona right now. But now we're going into the governor election. So I left this map partially filled in because I know I'd spend a lot of time talking about states that we don't really need to talk about right now. But we could see a little bit of an adjustment due to the president's policies when it comes to immigration. So Colorado being one of the few states that have firm opposition to the president on the course of immigration, not allowing the, I believe it is the National Guard or the State Guard to help with separation of families and helping president with his immigration policies. So Colorado, we could likely see shift to the likely column for the Democrats, along with the state of New Mexico. New Mexico currently has a GOP governor, but again, she was elected during a Republican wave year. This is a Democratic wave year in a Democratic state. So you can't really say that this one's leaning for the GOP or a toss-up state just based off how partisan the state has been. And Nevada, we could likely see being starting to lean in the Democratic column just based off Trump's inability to corral a number of his voters after this whole immigration fiasco. Over in Alaska, the former senator who was elected in 2008, not first elected in 2008, unless I'm wrong about that. I may be, but he's running in the governor election, and he definitely has a clear shot. But right now, I'm going to leave this one as leaning in the GOP column. Don't yell at me just yet. After the primary, if the Democrat wins, I will put that one in the Democratic column. It'll probably be in the Democratic column when it comes to the general election. But if the independent incumbent governor wins, I can't really expect anything but a GOP victory there. When we go down to the state of Florida, again, immigration is going to be an issue amongst Hispanic voters. And yes, it doesn't directly affect them, but again, partisan voting, issues that are the economy does not affect Florida as it would affect the Rust Belt. Immigration will probably be one of the top issues in Florida. It's not going to be the only issue like it might be in some of the Sun Belt states, but it's also going to be something that's going to sway. Actually, I think it would be an important issue amongst minority voters. I don't think it'll be an important issue amongst white voters because, frankly, it doesn't really affect them. But looking at the map, we are going to go through the rest of the states. So Connecticut right now, I actually see as leaning back in the Democratic column. In my previous two predictions, I had this one as leaning in the GOP column. But right now, I see it narrowly landing in the Democratic column just based off the whole Democratic wave and new opinion polling. When it goes over to the state of Ohio, that one I see as leaning in the GOP column. I'm surprised it wasn't already leaning there. They do have a good candidate on the Democratic side, but they also have a better one on the GOP side. So can't expect much for the Democrats in the state of Ohio. When we go over to the state of Michigan, I see this one as leaning in the Democratic column because of the opposition to the president, the approval rating, and the current approval rating of the incumbent governor. Right now, we finish off the map with 22 Democrats, 28 Republicans, 49 Democratic senators, and 51 Republican senators, the same exact composition makeup that we see today. So thank you guys for watching this video. Overall, this was just another prediction video with just immigration factored in, but I'm probably going to do the effect of it on the 2020 election because that one we're going to see a little bit more of a shift than what we see in the Senate elections because, again, this one will the 2020 election will directly impact the president and how people approve of him. It won't be senators that are opposition to the president, but it will literally be voting for or against the president in 2020. So, again, thank you guys for watching this video. Comment down suggestions below, and I'll see you all tomorrow.